In this video, I want to share my top 3 ways on how to think strategically on the spot. In my 12 plus years working with emerging leaders, mostly in my coaching sessions, I've had to learn how to think strategically really fast so I could provide concrete solutions to my clients on the spot in the moment to challenges that they faced. And in this video, I'm going to tell you how I unlock my mind so I can think strategically on the spot and give those solutions to clients that they need. I think this advice is going to be immensely helpful for you as an emerging leader in your business meetings, in your brainstorming sessions, and in your client meetings as well. And the first thing that I do is I try to understand the problem. I try to understand what is the issue the other person is talking about, because it is absolutely pointless trying to provide solutions if you do not understand the problem that you're facing. I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where you've been trying to explain to somebody else about a problem you're having or a challenge you're facing, and instead of them listening to you, they immediately jump in and offer solutions without ever really understanding what that problem is. This is going to frustrate you as a speaker because you don't have the space to actually explain and tell that person what you want to tell them. And their points, their suggestions might be off point. Some of them might be helpful, but a lot of them are probably going to be irrelevant or off point because they simply don't know what the actual problem is. So bringing this back to you, when you need to think strategically, then I encourage you to stop, to listen, and to really try to understand what the problem is first before you jump in and offer any kind of solutions. You need to spend time understanding the problem first. And you need to do this understanding on the spot. What I found helpful are 3 things. The first thing is to actually listen. This means don't talk because you're not at that stage yet. Don't offer any solutions or any advice. Just listen. This means keeping your mouth closed and your ears open, because it's the only way you're actually going to soak up the information and take it in so that you can strategically think and provide strategic answers on the spot. You'll also need to clear your mind from any distractions. So quieten your mind from any distractions that are going to take your focus away from that problem or from that person in that moment. The second thing you can do is, after a short while, after that person has started to talk and tell you what the problem is, then you can repeat things that they say. You can repeat key words that they say, or even full sentences that they say. This is really going to help that person feel that you have understood what the problem is. You spent time trying, at least, to understand what they're going through. The third thing you can do is to clarify, and this is where you take key points from what that person has said and you make sure that your understanding is correct. And you can do this by saying things like, "You said such and such, is that correct?" Or, "It seems the problem is such and such, is that right?" Following on from clarifying and asking questions, there is one really important question that will be super helpful for you to think strategically on the spot, and that is, what if? This question, what if, it isn't to help you develop your level of understanding about the problem you're facing. That is something that you have already done in the first step of this process. The what if question, that is meant to help you think of solutions to the problem that you've heard about. And this should be used in the brainstorming phase of the strategic thinking process. I really like what if questions because they help to unlock our strategic thinking ability, and they force us to think about hypothetical situations or solutions to problems and explore those things in a safe way without really committing to anything. These 2 little words, what if, they help you free your mind, they help you let go of limitations or noise in your thinking, and they help you see the clearer path forward or a clear solution to the problem that you're trying to fix. Because when it comes to strategic thinking and doing this quickly on the spot, this noise and these limitations, it can really be a big distraction to you thinking strategically. So how can you use what if questions? Well, you take this situation or the problem that you are facing and you reframe it into a what if question. For example, let's say you and your colleagues are discussing the problem with packaging of a cheese product that your company makes. The problem is, once customers buy your cheese, they open it, then they need to re-wrap it in Glad Wrap or something like that to keep it fresh. So for busy parents, this is a problem because it's time consuming. So you as a company, you need to find a better solution. Now, in the brainstorming session, you take this problem and you reframe it into a what if question, and you ask the group. What if we could find a way to reseal the packaging after the customer has opened it? Then you use this what if question posed to the group. You have a brainstorming session. Everyone contributes their ideas and possible solutions to the problem, and you end up coming up with the solution of Ziploc packaging for the cheese. So can you see from this one simple example how using the what if question, it can help to unlock your mind and unlock your brain and free it to think strategically and to think about different possible solutions on the spot. Now, once you have understood the problem, which was in step 1, and you have generated ideas or solutions to that problem using what if questions, which is what we talked about in step 2, then it's time to look forward and to think about the long-term consequences of each option that you have come up with. And this is where you would use second order thinking. So second order thinking is a mental model that helps you map out the possible ripple effects or long-term consequences of a decision that you are making, both positive consequences and negative consequences as well, to help you understand whether the decision you're making is a good one or not. And you don't just come up with consequences, you can also come up with consequences of consequences to really develop a long-term vision, to dig deeper and to help you really understand about the repercussions of the possible solutions that you are looking at. Second order thinking does take time, but it can absolutely be done on the spot. And in my opinion, it should be done on the spot in a rapid fire kind of way, because that's the only way you're going to get the instant, the real and the raw consequences of your decisions. Your brain won't filter these things out as not important or irrelevant, which often happens when you have more time to think about things. It's kind of like going by your gut instinct, which in my experience is often the best way to make a decision. So let's look at how to use second order thinking after you've come up with your what if questions. Now, to use second order thinking, you need to use an if then what statement. Okay, so going back to the example of the cheese packaging, we came up with the what if question. What if we could reseal the cheese packaging after the person has opened it? And with that, we came up with the idea of Ziploc packaging for the cheese. Now, using the second order thinking, this is what it would look like. If we redesign our cheese packaging to include Ziploc packaging, then what happens next? Meaning, what are the consequences if we redesign the packaging to include a Ziploc packaging? So one consequence would be the cost of production would increase. The next consequence could be we would have to increase the price of our product. The next consequence would be we might lose some customers because the prices have increased. And another consequence could be we might gain some customers because they value efficiency over price. So within 1 to 2 minutes, as I was writing and preparing for this video, I came up with these consequences. So as you can see, second order thinking can absolutely be done on the spot, and it can absolutely be done in a rapid fire kind of way. I think it's helpful to do an activity for second order thinking because it's something that's really not that difficult to do, but I know that some people might be intimidated by it. So I want to ask you one question. If you were to speak up more in meetings and to share what you thought, exactly what you thought, what happens next? And in the comments below, I want you to write your answers to this. What are the consequences that you've identified, both positive and maybe negative consequences? If you spoke up more, what happens next? Let me know in the comments. And this is a really good activity to get you started with second order thinking and for you to realize it's actually not as difficult as you might think it is. To further your learning about this, I recommend 2 videos for you to watch next. The first is the power of framework thinking. You can find up right here, and how to think like a genius strategic thinker, which is over here. So thank you so much for watching this video. I hope these videos will be helpful for you next, and I will see you next week in another video.